All right, literal child brains, buckle up for a crash course in philosophical truths. Clearly, my last video didn't do the trick, so I'm here to drag you kicking and screaming into the realm of reason. Let's dive into some fundamental philosophical principles that even you can understand. First up, the law of non-contradiction. This isn't rocket science, folks. It simply states that contradictory statements cannot both be true at the same time in the same context. Imagine me saying, I'm a genius and I'm an idiot simultaneously. While some of you might actually believe the latter, both statements can't be true at the same moment. Aristotle came up with this one back in the day when people wore togas and debated under olive trees. It's one of the cornerstones of logical reasoning. Next, we have the law of identity. This is the philosophy equivalent of Sesame Street. It states that A is A. In other words, everything is identical to itself. If I say a cat is a cat, I'm making a profound philosophical statement that's harder for some of you to grasp than a cat video on YouTube. Again, Aristotle was busy with this one, probably while sipping on some ancient wine and chuckling at how basic this concept is. Moving on to the law of excluded middle. This one's for those of you who love sitting on the fence. It states that for any proposition, either that proposition is true or its negation is true. There's no middle ground, folks. It's like when I say, you either subscribe to my channel or you don't. There's no third option where you kind of subscribe. Then there's the principle of sufficient reason. This one says everything must have a reason or cause. If you're wondering why you're still watching this video, that's probably the principle at work. This idea was popularized by Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz in the 17th century. He was probably the kind of guy who'd ask why you didn't do your homework and then write a thesis about it. Now, let's not forget the axioms of arithmetic and logic. These are the bedrock of all rational thinking. For instance, 1 + 1 = 2 is as certain as the fact that your attention span is probably shorter than a goldfish's. These axioms have been around since ancient times and are still kicking because guess what? They're true. And how could we skip the classic I think, therefore I am? René Descartes dropped this bombshell in the 17th century. Descartes argued that the very act of doubting your existence proves that you exist. It's like questioning if a pizza exists while you're eating it. The doubt itself is proof. So there you have it. These principles are the foundation of logical reasoning and coherent thought. They're self-evident truths that even your brain should be able to grasp. Remember, without these principles, we'd be living in a world where up is down, cats are dogs, and you're somehow a philosophy expert. Now go forth and spread this newfound wisdom. Or don't. But remember, there's no middle ground.